Okay, these are the video solutions for section 2.7 homework exercises. We finished number 14 last time. We're going to pick up a number 15. And remember, we are, for these problems, writing the following statements as an inequality and then graphing it on a number line. So we're going to continue with number 15. Number 15 has the word limit in it, and that tells us there's some kind of boundary or inequality. So the speed limit is 45 miles per hour. So that means our limit, or I'm going to use S for speed, should be less than or equal to 45 miles per hour. But again, kind of like number 12, if you remember that from the last video, we cannot have a negative speed unless we're going backwards in time, which I'm not doing. So I'm going to also make this one a between inequality like we talked about in number 12, where we want to cap it at 0. And I'm not going to say that it can be equal to 0, because if the speed is 0, the car is not going anywhere. It doesn't have a speed. And so I'm going to put less than here for my left-hand boundary. So I'm going to draw it now on a number line. I'm going to have 0 and 45. I'm going to have a closed circle because I'm including 45, and an open circle because I am not including 0. And then I'm going to have my line in between to show that the speed is happening somewhere between 0 and 45. On number 16, it says, I have more than 3 years until graduation. So here's our more than. I'm going to put Y for years greater than, not equal to, because it says more than, it can't be equal to 3. Y is greater than 3 years until graduation. So I'm going to draw my number line, 0 for reference, and my positive 3. And I'm going to then have an open circle, because it has no equal to sign on the bottom, and point towards the numbers that are greater than 3. That's my answer for those, numbers 11 through 16. Now let's go down to these more wordier word problems. It says solve the following word problems by writing them in an inequality. So we're going to use some of those same skills we did in numbers 11 through 16 with a few more steps now that we have bigger word problems. Number 17 says, on his first 2 tests, Josh received scores of 88 and 92. If he wants at least an average of 93, what does his score on the 3rd test have to be? So we have here a word that tells us an inequality is happening, and that is at least. So if I use the variable a for average, I'd say John wants his average to be at least 93. So he wants it to be greater than or equal to 93 average. So I'm going to set up an inequality that uses average. To find the average, you add the numbers together and divide by how many numbers there are. So we have 88, 92, and we have a 3rd test that we don't know what it is. So I'm going to call it x. And that will be 3 tests, so I'll divide by the number 3. And I'm going to replace that in my inequality as a. This is my average, and I want it to be greater than or equal to 93. Now from here, I'm just solving an inequality. So I am going to get rid of that fraction 3 down here by timesing both sides by 3. So then I'll have greater than or equal to 93 times 3, which is 279. If I then add these 2 numbers together, I get 180 plus x is greater than or equal to 279. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 180. Get the x alone. So it says x, meaning my 3rd test score, is greater than or equal to 279 minus 180, which is 99. So Josh needs to get a 99 or higher on his test. Gotta do a lot of work. Prepare for that, Josh. Okay, on That's number 17, and it doesn't say to graph it on a number line or write it in set notation like the other problems have said, so we are done. Number 18 says an elevator can hold up to 3,300 pounds. If each person on the elevator weighs an average, we have that word again, of 165 pounds, how many people can ride at one time? So this how many people is not going to be an exact number because we want the most that they can ride on the elevator and less than that. So that's where our inequality is coming in. These words up to tell us that it could be anything less than 3,300 pounds. So let's do W for the weight of the elevator. And we want that to be less than or equal to 3,300 people. We'll talk about that part in parentheses in just a minute. But let's start solving. So I know I have 165 pounds for each of those people, so I'm going to multiply that by P for people. And I want that to be less than or equal to 3,300 pounds. And I'm just going to divide by 165, both sides of my inequality, and I have people. And what I get is less than or equal to positive 20. Okay, this is a lot like number 15, number 12, where again we're reminded that we can't have a negative number of something. In this case, people. There can be negative people, but not a negative number of people. And so we are going to add something at the beginning to show that this would stop at 0. So we want our people, the amount of people, to be greater than 0. Or equal to, right? We can have 0 people in our elevator, that's fine. The elevator won't break. So I'm going to reverse that. So 0 is less than or equal to the amount of people, and I'm going to add less than or equal to 20 at the end there. So this shows that the amount of people should be between 0 and 20, and it can be equal to 0 or 20. That's my answer. So on each of these, you want to check, do I need to add something to show that it can't be negative? Number 19 says, at a family reunion, whoops, let me scroll a little slower. At a family reunion, Logan reserved a table at a dinner and a show event. There was a $50 reservation fee for the show, plus a fee of $15 per person for the dinner. If he had a budget of $450, how many people can come to the dinner? And again, we're reminded that we can't have a negative number of people. So probably what that means, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is we're going to have to add something like this at the beginning, 0 less than, or 0 less than or equal to. But we'll come back to that in a minute. So we have a $50 reservation fee that Logan has to pay, even if nobody shows up. $50 flat out, that's the fee. Plus a fee of $15 per person, so again, we'll use P per person like in the last problem, for the dinner. If he had a budget of $450, so budget means, again, we're going to have something less than or equal to that amount, just like in the last problem, $450. So can't go over that. He's going to stick to his budget. So I'm going to start now solving for P. So subtract 50. 15P is less than or equal to 400. And we divide both sides by positive 15. And P is less than or equal to, this is interesting because we get a decimal number. But we're talking about people, and people don't like being compared to 2/3 or a decimal amount. And so I'm going to do a couple different ways that you can write this answer. So first of all, let's remember that we can't have negative people. So we can round this up and say, okay, the amount of people can be less than 27. Now, how come I had an inequality sign, equal sign here, but not here? If I have 27 people, I'm going to go over budget. That's going to be more than $450. And so I'm saying less than 27, but I could have also said instead less than or equal to 26 people, because that would make it under budget. So either one of those ways is correct. And on both of these, I'm going to add my 0 at the beginning to show that I can't have a negative number of people. And I mean, Logan, like I said, he could have nobody show up to his party. That'd be really sad for him, but it could be equal to 0. So I'm going to put an or equal to sign for the 0 on both of these. Either way you write this is correct. So I'll put an or right here. You can write it either way. All right, number 20 says, in order to qualify for financial aid, Shayla needs to take at least, so there's another inequality, pair words, 30 credits combined between 2 semesters. So let's say semester A and semester B combined, so I'm going to add them together. Should be between 2 semesters at least 30. So I'm going to say greater than or equal to 30 credits. If she took 16 credits last semester, so let's call that semester A, so that'll be 16 credits here for A. How many credits does she need to take this semester to qualify for financial aid? So I'm now going to solve for B. So subtract 16 from both sides, and B is greater than or equal to 30 minus 16, which is 14 credits for this semester. She can take more than that or equal to that. Oh, I forgot we don't need to draw a picture, but there you go. I drew one anyway. Ta-da! So this is our answer. And you can write credits or C for credits. I just used A and B, but you can use any variable you want there. 21. Patty is calling her grandma, how sweet, on a long distance phone call, and she only has $2.20 to do it. And it costs 50 cents just to place the call. This is a lot like number 19. And 10 cents per minute. So let's have 10 cents times a minute. And we want that to be less than or equal to $2.20. So I'll solve for M, subtract 50 from both sides. And I get 1.70, or just 1.7. Divide by that 10 cents. And the minutes is less than or equal to 17. Okay. And she's going to touch her grandma for a positive amount of time. So again, we can't have it be negative. So we're going to add that at the end. Or at the beginning, I should say. The width of a rectangle is fixed at 6 meters. Let me draw my picture here. The width, doesn't matter which one we call width, but I'm just going to pick it to be the smaller one. It's always 6. For what lengths will the area of the rectangle be more than, not equal to, just more than 96 square meters? So we got to remember how to find the area of a rectangle. And in this case, length times width or base times height. So I'm going to have one of them be 6. Not highlight, erase, silly. 6, and we're trying to find the other length. So we're going to now divide by 6. And the height is going to be greater than or equal to 16 meters. So anything bigger than that will have a bigger area than just 96 square meters. That is the end of the 2.7 exercises. Well done. Go back and watch any other videos to help you with chapter 2. Good luck. Goodbye.